everyone, it's Nikki with Sprague Homestead, and today we're kicking off our Female Farmer Friday interviews. This first interview is going to be with Cate, soon to be Weiss. They're actually getting married here in a couple of weeks, from Wonderland Acres out in Iowa. So sit back and enjoy yourself, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Okay, so we'll just start. So what is the name of your farm and where are you guys located at?
Our farm is called Wonderland Acres, and we are located in central Iowa.
Is there like a story behind the name or just something you guys came up with?
Yeah, we were both thinking Wonderland for different reasons. He was thinking Wonderland, something to do with my rabbits and going down the rabbit hole and, Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland and all that. And I kept referring to our wooded area as the Wonderland Forest because every time I would mow, it was always a wonder what I was going to run into because it was so overgrown. And so we both just started calling it Wonderland. And so we're like, well, I guess that's the name of it. So just kind of stuck.
Well, how many acres do you guys have?
We only have 2.5. But there is 100 acres of farmland that surrounds us that used to be part of this. But it's owned by the children or something of the original owners of this house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's better than having a lot of neighbors.
Yeah. Our closest neighbor is like half a mile away. So we have one on either end of our dirt road. And they're right at the ends, and each dirt road is a mile long. So they're about half a mile away. Yeah.
So it's just you and, is it Mark? Is that right?
Yep. And then we have an 8-year-old son too, named Andrew.
Oh, okay. That's gotta be fun. Do
Sometimes.
Do you homeschool, or I guess you probably are in the time of COVID a little bit?
Nope. He actually goes to school. They closed at the beginning of 2020, but since the new year started, he's been been at school the whole time. So
you're so lucky. Everybody here is still closed.
Yeah, the cases here are only in the town that I live in. It's only at like 0.2% or 0.02 or something like that. So they don't feel any need to close, but some of the bigger towns around us, they have closed.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So what kind of things do you guys raise on your farm?
Right now we have lambs, rabbits, chickens, Muscovy ducks, and turkeys. The first year we were out here, we had goats and pigs as well. But it turns out that goats are not my favorite. So they didn't stay very long. And then I want to get pigs again, but I want to build a better pen because the original one I had them in, I had to walk through their pen to get to my feed room. And they were like constantly like biting my boots and pulling on my pants and like pushing me around. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't safe. So I have back behind our barn, we have a nice big cement slab. So I want to build a dedicated pig pen back there, but we need to get some shade and stuff up first because it's in direct sunlight all day long. So
yeah, pigs can be a bit of a pain. We had some when I was a kid and they were always getting out, and they're very feed motivated. So
yep.
They like to stop you to try and get that feed too. Well, what kind of rabbits do you guys do?
Right now I have like my own meat breed. I'm on like a 5th generation right now, thereabouts, where I've been crossing Rex and French Lops together.
An interesting choice.
Yeah, so I started with Rex because I really liked their fur, and I was originally like, oh, I can do all this stuff with their fur. And then I've literally never done anything with their fur. And I really, really like the lop-eared rabbits. So I started bringing in French Lops just because they're so big. And so now I have like this about 10-pound-ish mix of rabbits with lop ears, but they're nice and big and meaty, and I just love them. It's really hard for me to bring in new ones.
Yeah, it's an interesting cross because French Lops, yeah, they're big and they're big boned generally. So that's interesting. You'll have to send me pictures of them sometime. I'm curious what they look like. So what kind of other activities other than raising the animals, what kind of stuff do you guys do? Do you like do a lot of canning, gardening, that sort of thing?
I am not a green thumb. I am the worst gardener in the world, but I'm trying to learn how to do that. So right now, animals are pretty much the only thing that we do. But like we are big like Jeep enthusiasts, so we like to go off-roading and going to like Jeep shows and stuff like that. So Mark really wants to someday have our own off-road park, and I'm just like, it's such a waste of ground out here, but maybe somewhere else where it's nice and wooded and it makes sense. So
Sounds like fun, though. It does sound like fun.
yeah, until you break your Jeep.
Well, yeah, there is some of that goes on. We used to live in Mississippi for a while, and everybody down there is really big on the quad deal. So they spend thousands of dollars on these quads, and then they would go out in a weekend and swamp it and have to tear it all apart and start over. So I totally understand how that works. So obviously you're not homesteading full time because you said you work.
Right. Yep.
Do you work full time, part time, or?
Yep, I work full time, and I work in IT with. I think my technical position is solution engineer. Okay. I can't remember. It's some kind of engineer. But I basically work with like computer applications and doing updates and stuff on computers. So,
and I assume,
and then
Mark probably works full time.
Yes, he does right now. He works full time for a farmer about 15, 20 minutes away from us. And they do like corn and beans and the actual like field farming type stuff. And he really likes it. But our ultimate goal for him is he wants to have his own ground and do hay and stuff because he really likes doing that. So he also likes trucking and hauling, and he wants to get into that too. So I'm like, well, let's take it one step at a time here and figure out where to go with you.
No kidding.
Both of those are expensive things to get into. So
yeah, they can be. So how long have you guys actually been doing the homesteading thing then?
Out here, we moved out here in March of 2018. So we're going on 3 years now. But we started with rabbits and Muscovies back in 2016. In May of 2016 is when I got rabbits. And I actually started in them because I wanted to raise food for my dogs. But the way I pitched it to Mark to get him to agree to it was that I was like, well, we could eat the rabbits. And I'd never butchered anything, but like I grew up on a hog farm. So like I kind of knew how to do it. I'd never personally. And so we just kind of started with that. And then we had some chickens, but we had issues and the neighbor's dog killed all of them. So then I got the Muscovy ducks because they were quiet. And I've had Muscovies ever since then. I think their eggs are way better than chicken eggs. So
I've never actually had one, so I will take your word for it. Because I know they're not ducky like regular ducks because they're not truly a duck. But I've never actually had one.
They're I like them boiled because I'm not a big egg person, but I do like boiled eggs. And the center of them is very creamy. It's almost like having like a deviled egg just in a whole egg. And it's it's not dry at all like a chicken egg. That's why I like it so much.
I've got friends who have some. I may have to try and get some and give it a try because I've never had one before. So you said you basically wanted to start doing the rabbits to do dog food and that kind of stuff. What really drove you to try and do the whole homesteading thing? That kind of the whole food aspect?
Yeah, it had always been kind of our plan to raise our own animals. And even when we lived in town, we would buy one beef and one hog a year. And we share the beef with one of our friends. So, I mean, it's always been our goal to be more self-sufficient and to kind of take that from paying somebody to raise them to raising them ourselves. And we are working on finishing up our pastures so that we can get something bigger, like raising our own beef every year. But right now we have the lambs and they seem to do really well. But they're a lot less smart than the goats are, so they don't ever get out.
I've heard that. I've never raised sheep, but I have raised goats, and yeah, they enjoy finding ways out. That it's for sure.
Yeah.
So when
Mark told me, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Mark told me when I got goats that if they ever got on the vehicles, I had to get rid of them. And I had them for about a couple months, and they got on the vehicles, so they had to go.
Yeah, breed selection in goats is everything. Breed selection and fencing is like the key to raising goats.
Yeah.
So when you first started homesteading, what was the hardest thing to get used to?
I think mostly the commute, because I'd kind of gotten spoiled with only driving 10 minutes to work. And when we moved out here, we had no internet, so I couldn't work from home unless I ran it from my phone. And I had to drive like 35, 40 minutes to go to work every day. And that was one way. So, I mean, it was like 60 miles a day I was driving just to go to work. And I don't like driving. So I hated it. But as far as like the animals and stuff, it's not really any different for me because like I grew up, we always had pigs and horses and all that. So it wasn't any different really to have to do that out here. Plus, I already had the animals in town too. So that wasn't much of a change for me. Just
it's a lot easier. Yeah, it's easier when you come kind of from that background anyway. So
yeah.
Okay, so you may not have one of these. I don't know. Who is your personal homesteading or farming hero, if you have one?
Does it have to be a YouTuber?
No, of course not. It can be anybody.
I mean, I don't really have any like heroes outside of YouTube, but as far as like animal care and stuff, I watch Goldshaw Farms a lot. I actually came across him because I was trying to figure out the best way to raise a farm dog, and his videos with his Toby dog came up, and I was like, this guy's actually kind of fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, as far as looking up to somebody, I don't really have too many people. I try to just be kind of an inspiration to anybody around me, because I always feel that if you're not improving something, that you need to take a step back and look at what you're doing, because there's always something you can improve on with your animal care. And so I really try to push. And that's why I like the videos that you put out, because I mean, you're kind of the same way. You're always pushing people to take better care of their animals and to do more for them. And I think like with the rabbits, especially, so many people just, feed them and forget them. And it's, there's so much more that can go into raising them properly. And so I really try to advocate for them and push for that stuff.
Yeah, I've always kind of been big on that. It's fine if you're going to use them as food, but they should have the best life that they can have up until that point. So,
right.
Yeah, rabbits have obviously become my soft spot in life. So, it's just kind of the way it works. So you're in Iowa now. If you could go anywhere in Homestead, where would you go?
Me personally, just based on the locations that I've been, I really want to go to Vermont or New Hampshire. I think it's so pretty out there. I love like all the mountainous areas and, real upstate, not the lower stuff, but I know it would be such a pain though to like drive in the winter because you got all them hills and stuff. But no, I just think it's really pretty. And Mark really wants to go out west, but we haven't explored out there yet. So I can't mentally commit to doing that, unless we've been out there. But right now, Vermont, New Hampshire, they're up there on my list.
I will admit I have never been to the Northeast. I've been pretty much everywhere else, but not the Northeast. And I was looking forward to this last year, going to the ARBA convention in Pennsylvania, because this was going to be my chance, and it got canceled. So never made it. One of these days I will make it to the Northeast, because I've been everywhere out west, most of the middle of the country, and then we live down in Mississippi, so most of the South. But it's pretty from the pictures I've seen, but I think the snow would probably wear on you a little bit.
Yeah, I've been out there 3 times. Once going as far up as Maine, once to Pennsylvania and back, and then down into the Carolinas and back. And then I've been in Texas, and I've been in California, kind of in the middle of the state. So it was nice out there, but the area that I was in was like right around Hollywood, and it was just like, I can't do this. There's too many people.
Yeah, California has kind of gotten crazier and crazier and crazier too. So,
yeah.
So what do you think is one of the hardest aspects of homesteading from a woman's perspective?
I think as far as like being on YouTube, I think it's just people looking down on you and being like, you don't know what you're talking about, unless you're gardening. People tend to believe female gardeners. And like with butchering and stuff, I have some of those videos up, and I definitely get some weirdos on there. But like physically, just like in real life, the hardest thing is carrying all the feed bags because I am not a strong person. So it's like, I carry one and I'm like, okay, that's how I'll move the rest of them tomorrow.
No, I think that's fair. You know, we women try and do everything that the men do, but feed and things is not packaged in a way that's really good for us, you know?
I fling it up over my shoulder and walk like a retard. But the other day, I got a hay delivery, and Mark was busy, and I was like, I can't throw all of this. And the guy that delivered it was helping me, and it was 20 bales, and it took us like 13 minutes from the time I left my office to the time I came back, and I was dead. I was like, I'm not doing this again. It was too much.
How big are your bales out there?
I think they're usually in like the 80 to 100 pound range, and he parked like fairly close to the shed. It was just, I'm such a weakling because, I work from home. I don't do physical stuff all day.
Well, we've lived all over, and it seems like every area has a different size bale. So like we lived in Tennessee and Mississippi, and the standard small bale size was 60 pounds, which was really nice. And then we got here and they're 120s.
Yeah, it really depends out here, like the type of hay that you're getting and like who you're getting it from. But the majority of them out here are around the 80 to 100 pound range.
Yeah, that'll wear you out in a hurry.
Yeah, he was bringing them to the shed, and I was just trying to stack them because I don't have lights out in that. That's the only shed I don't have lighting out in. And I was like, I know where to put them. Just you give them to me, and I'll walk in the dark. And I was exhausted.
Well, at least you got some exercise, right?
Yeah, my exercise for the week. Check that off.
So if you could start your homesteading journey all over again, is there anything that you would do differently?
I would definitely not get animals before having a pen set up for them. I did that when I got the goats. The day that we moved out here, I went and picked up a baby goat because I was so excited to have goats, and we didn't have a pen for it. So it lived in my garage for like 3 months.
Oh my.
Yeah. And I was bottle feeding it, and I was just, it was so unprepared. And then we got the pigs, and it was like, oh my gosh, where are we going to put these pigs? And so then we put them in a shed for a little while and slowly built a pen around them. But yeah, that's no more. No more getting animals until the pens are up.
I think almost everybody starts out that way too. At some point, you get a little excited and you bring something home that you're really not ready for. So
yeah, and I had been watching Weed 'em and Reap because she milks her goats, and I was like, oh, I want to do that too. So I was like, we got to get goats right away. That was such a bad idea.
Months later, you're like, I got to get rid of goats right away.
Pretty much. I mean, I was trying to get rid of them for like $50. I was like, will somebody please just come take these goats? And I got rid of 3 of them, and I had 1 left, and I could not find her a place. So I finally gave her to my friend to use as dog food because I was like, I don't know what else to do with this.
It happens, unfortunately. Sometimes that's just the way it works.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of a big thing too, is so many people go into this thinking that they can make a living off of it, or like, just go full time right away. And it's like, you really don't make any money. Like, unless you have a big enough, where you have a big customer base and everything, there's just hardly any money to be made. Like, I don't cover my feed bills every month.
I will say after 7 years of raising rabbits, 6 of them showing and doing pedigreed stuff, we actually made money on the rabbits last year. Barely.
Yeah.
But I had black on the ledger instead of red. So it's something, but yeah, I mean, the goats don't make money. The chickens, some years they do, some years they don't. It's really, you've got to build that reputation and get your systems down. And it does. Yeah. It takes a long time.
Well, and out here, it's actually illegal to sell goat milk. So you can't sell like goat cheese or goat milk or anything. You can make goat soap and you can sell that because it's not consumable. But for out here, anything goat, you're not allowed to sell as a consumable. So that kind of limits the goat market for anything. Unless you're just selling for breeders or whatever. Yeah,
we have wild rules here. Like, you can have, I want to say it's like 4 goats in lactation, but you can't have, like, there's a rule about how many goats you can have on your property if they've ever been bred before, and you can only be milking so many, like, the whole, it's so convoluted that it's like, who's doing this? Who has, like, you have to get a lawyer to figure out 1 page of directions on it. So I don't know. I'll probably try mine and do it illegally and go to jail one of these days. But so what's one area of homesteading that you are not doing now that you really want to start doing in the future?
That would definitely be the gardening. I need to get better at that. And that's kind of my goal this spring, is that hopefully the garden beds that I made 2 years ago will actually have usable soil, because I was just like, you just dump rabbit poop and chicken poop and you can plant stuff in it, and you can't do that. So I'm hoping
not right away. No.
Yeah. Like I had like 1 foot raised beds that I made, and I just filled them with waste. And I was like, why did everything die in a couple of days? I don't understand. But so I'm hoping this spring I can actually grow stuff in my garden and then maybe actually have something to produce and can and keep. But I'm not crossing my fingers on it.
Well, if it's sat for a couple of years, you might be good to go now. It might be really nice.
I hope so. We did have some squash grow last year, I think it was. I planted it next to the barn, and they were getting about this big. And then I went out to check on them, and slugs had eaten them.
Oh, no.
Yep. So I'm like, I'm just not cut out for this.
You'll get it. Like, I come from a family that's good gardeners, and I will admit that it is a fight for me. And I get better every year. But there's been a lot of years where I've paid a lot of money for plants that have just died tragically. So, I think that's an area that a lot of people seem to struggle with. You're either good with animals or you're good with plants, but you're not always good with both. It's just kind of the way it works.
I've always been the animal person. Like, even since I was a kid, I was always the one that was like, Daddy, can we keep it? Whenever I found anything. And so, it was just kind of like natural for me when I moved out here to be like, let's get all the animals. And now I'm like, no, I don't want it anymore.
Fair enough. So what do you think is the biggest mistake that new homesteaders or female homesteaders in particular make?
I think kind of like I said before, just getting onto the property and just expecting to get everything right away and being super successful right away. And I that doesn't necessarily just pertain to females, but I think there's definitely that level of having to learn to be crafty and be able to build things and put, heavy stuff together that you might not necessarily be actually able to move, stuff like that. I mean, obviously, there's definitely women out there that are way stronger than me, so I can't speak for every single woman, but I've already before we moved out here, I was always really good at like building stuff, but not big structures or anything. So that was definitely kind of a learning process.
For sure. Okay, so the last question I have for you is, what advice would you give? Oh, and then my phone dies on the question.
One piece of advice?
Yeah, what piece of advice, if you could give new homesteading ladies one piece of advice, what would it be?
My piece of advice would be to just slow down and do your research before you get something. If you're going to get animals, research a good breeder and get good quality stock before you bring it home. If you're going to get into gardening, start with a few things right away instead of doing every single thing in the book right away.
That is very good advice, because I think we all get excited and we want to do everything, right? And it never works out that way.
You go to the store and you buy every single seed because you're like, oh, I like this and this and this and this and this. And then you don't know how to actually grow any of it. So lots of research.
I think most people don't understand the soil requirements are so different for like so many different things. And this is one thing I've really been trying to learn is the soil that will grow you a really great squash will not grow you a great tomato. So it's definitely a learning process.
Yeah.
Well, that was all the questions I have. So how can our viewers find you? Where are you on social media, and how can they get in touch with what you're doing?
We are only on Facebook and YouTube. So on YouTube, we are under Wonderland Acres, and there's a picture of Mark and I as our little profile picture. And then on Facebook, we are actually under Wonderland Acres Hobby Farm, because I haven't updated that yet since we took it off. And that one is actually our logo picture. So it's not the picture of us on there.
So that was a really fun interview, and it was really nice to meet Cate, coming from a different part of the country than where we are. So it's always interesting to see everybody else's perspective. So what we're doing now is we're looking for ladies who would like to be part of our interview series, and it's going to be pretty much the same questions. Kind of tell us who you are and what kind of things you're doing on your homestead or farm. If you think you'd want to be on one of our upcoming episodes, just send me an email at srhomestead@yahoo.com, and we can kind of coordinate and meet up and do that. If you're a local, we can sit down and actually do a face-to-face interview, or we could do like we did with Cate and do the Zoom interview. I'd be happy to talk to you. Just shoot me a message, and hopefully we can get you on a future episode. So that's it for today from Sprague Homestead. We will see you next time. Happy homesteading!